Good morning. Make sure that you're out there for the drawing. Make sure. So I'm going to try to end early and for question and answer. But yeah, my name is Muliadi. I came all the way from Indonesia, Jakarta. Actually, I used to live in LA for 16 years, but and now I can enjoy all the sunshine in Indonesia. Let me try to click, see if I can do it. Nope. Oh, yep. Another one. Just very brief, 10-second advertising. Just kidding. So it's hi from all my team in Indonesia. We also running a Meet Magento Indonesia. So if you want to find an excuse flying all over the other side of the world, I mean, please do. We always have it on August at the beginning, so you can plan your summer travel all the way to Indonesia. Oop. Just next. So yeah, we welcome you all to come to Indonesia for the Meet Magento Indonesia too. All right, so that's the advertisement. You know, you can click the skip ads. Let's go to what we're going to talk about today. So I have the privilege to basically able to contrast and compare. So like I said, I've been living in LA for 16 years. So I was in United States when the e-commerce boom started beginning, and we see how it evolved now. And I came back to Indonesia right in the perfect timing where the e-commerce is also starting on in Asia. So we can see that at the beginning is like we look like a lot of the Asia movement is like following what we see in United States or in Europe. But then more and more now, as the time goes, I see that the two cultures kind of converging. And it's like things that are happening now in the US is actually following what actually happened in Asia already. So kind of like the other way around, starting kind of like, I'm not saying that the Asia is like leapfrogging, no, but I see that there's this whole culture converging that kind of interesting happening right now in the current day. So we're going to talk specifically about millennial because in the millennials, it's really the key drive of the e-commerce in Asia. I mean, all the older people still like to go to the store and still very classic way, but the technology savvy people is really just the young people. And we're talking about people that is like 15 years old to 29. Those are the really people that are very active in the internet. Obviously, Facebook is one of the key driver. Just a very quick, just to give you a good context. I mean, see, this is all the Southeast Asia country, and we are predominantly like very young. I mean, a lot of the population, if you see the graph, the biggest population is really on the 15 to 35 on almost every country in Asia. I mean, so this is why, I mean, you may be hearing a lot of, oh, e-commerce is like very booming in China and now in Southeast Asia and India, because really the young people that really driving this whole technology, I would say like, people that were comfortable about technology, and then basically that's where the e-commerce coming in. Next one. So obviously this is where we start converging, right? The millennials that we're facing in Asia is what you are facing right now. I mean, I think it's a lot of talk now talking about the millennial buyers in the US, and you're kind of facing the same behavior. And if we see like older generations, we kind of a little bit more separate, I mean, from the culture. A little bit different what we see in Asia and what we see in the US. But now, in the millennials, kind of when people connecting together in this internet space, right? Now we can see a lot of cultural converging. You see, I just fly from LA and talk to my cousins there. K-pop is apparently now so hits in US. Even at school in Irvine, like they have a K-pop class. Wow, I'm amazed that it's becoming that deep. And at the same time, also in space like Singapore, Indonesia, or any country in Asia, they don't feel like foreign with all the US culture. They just see it every day. It's become part of their life. My kids spend most of the time in YouTube, and he's been, just like any of other kids in US, is following the same YouTuber activity every day. So they don't feel foreign at all with the new cultures coming out from the Western. So for the first time, we see that this millennial culture is actually emerging into one, and so the behavior becoming more similar rather than difference. So that's what obviously this is my personal observation, so disclaimer, I'm not a professional psychologist or something like that. So don't take what I present today and start buying stock or something like that. No, but this is more like an observation, right? Going back one slide, yeah. So obviously the younger generation in Asia, they like fanciness. They want to be always new. I mean, they always want to buy new stuff, but with the limited budget, obviously. So that's why sometimes we translate that, the younger people not loyal to the brand. But I have a son which is 14 years old when I talk to him. So are you not loyal to a brand? And said, no, not really. I mean, he bought every day from Uniqlo and Zara, H&M. And he really related to that brand. I mean, he said, I like it because it's good value. He can get whatever he wants out of that brand. So it's a little bit different. The way that they're thinking about brand and loyalty is a bit different than what we think. I mean, I feel myself like a millennial, but unfortunately I'm not. But that's kind of the same thing that you see also in the US. I mean, this is changing behavior on the millennials. It's kind of exactly what we actually experience. The difference is the only client that we have is millennial. You still have the Gen X and the other one. When we talk about e-commerce in Asia, we're only talking about the millennials. So that's what we need to cater. So we have to make everything fun. It's more experience. We've been talking about customer experience in the US a lot. I mean, you've been in a couple of days, I mean, here also talking a lot of the customer journey and stuff like that. In Asia, I mean, it's everything. I mean, shopping has to be fun online. Just simple stuff like during like Chinese New Year, instead of just giving out like a discount code, hey, here, buy on the website, we have to come out something more playful, like, drawing some hongbao or red envelope. At the end, it's essentially the same. They just got a discount code behind the scene, and you might be just doing the same thing that you already do. But the whole interaction that make it different, the small touch of like having them to actually clicking on the red envelope and getting the discount code. So those kind of small interaction that actually make it different, and they like it. It's kind of fun. So that's kind of something that we'll see. And obviously mobile, I mean, we've been talking about mobile in here, optimizations. We see a lot of mobile interaction right now in the US. In Asia, we're kind of flipping around. Mobile is the only one that they're actually starting with. I mean, a lot of this millennial young people, they only have mobile phone to start with. They register Facebook using mobile phone number, not email. So the only thing that they actually see internet is through the mobile phone. And the only time they've been using the computer most of the time is in the office. So, which is kind of funny. I mean, we do this mobile optimizations program, and when we join, I mean, we share the same issue like what you have here in the US, which is the conversion rate in mobile phones still low, even though more than 75% of the traffic come in the mobile phone. Because the thing is, the way that they do in Asia, they check around the mobile phone because internet sometimes can be spotty. But then during the work time, basically, they will, on the lunchtime, they're just using the desktop computer at work and start buying. So it's actually conversion is actually moving from mobile to the desktop. So we can see like the fluctuate of the traffic in the e-commerce. It's very funny because you will see like during the day, work day is the peak. People buy like around 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. As the peak, and then it's died down in the evening because at the evening they don't have computer. So they browsing around again, but they don't buy. So you can see the traffic browsing around in the evening, and then they buy again the next day. And weekend, Saturday, Sunday, e-commerce die. Nobody buying anything around the weekend. And then that's kind of the funny thing that we observe, so kind of funny. But that's just the nature of how the mobile first society that we have in Asia. But this is also something that, if we reflect this, then what can that look like in the US? I think this is something that the young people in the US also starting to get into much more active with the mobile, not only just for talking or stuff like that. And obviously they are very active in the social. Pokemon Go has been really hit in US. I think that's kind of showing like how much interest on the mobile activity. QR code, AR is like big right now in the US. So we know that it's beyond just browsing in the mobile. So this is something that we kind of have to anticipate all this different behavior from this millennial. They're really having fun with their phone beyond just browsing the internet. Even in Asia, we have what we call super apps concept. I don't know if it's ever come to US, but this is something that will make a change. Alibaba have one. In Indonesia, almost every startup that come up with a concept in the e-commerce business, they're gonna go with the super app concept. I picked two of the biggest one in Indonesia here. Gojek is a transport company like Uber. Here, Uber is very basic, just Uber, car, drive, and stuff. In Indonesia, the Uber, our Uber, the Gojek, you can see do go ride, go car, the taxi. We can actually order food. We can do delivery using them. We actually use them like a DHL courier kind of services. We actually can do even like massage, house cleaning, all in the apps. So that's how far-fetched of what we call super apps is. So they want really everybody just use this one single app to do everything. I think the closest thing I can see in US right now, maybe Amazon tried to do that in a certain way. I'm not in single app, but Amazon tried to hook you up with the grocery, the shopping, the TV, the entertainment, everything. So this is kind of very similar in the sense that that's kind of how it's kind of mimicking what's happening right now in Asia. The other side, this is a travel company, Traveloka, also another unicorn startup in Asia. As you see, they're not only doing flight and hotels, they're now starting doing experience, the eats, all the ticket trains, the airport transfer, car rental, like everything that related to transportation, they pretty much try to do it all in one apps. And they want you hook up into this app. So this is what making the e-commerce kind of hard. Okay, if they're controlling all the traffic, how can we work with them as the business merchants, right? And obviously QR code is everywhere. Asia love QR code. Even like it's not just only the matter of payment method, for the QR code, but everything can be QR code. Business information is QR code. Try to find coupon using QR codes, everything. It's a low-tech kind of things. It's not like super advanced. We don't need AI, we don't need anything fancy on QR code. It's just simply QR code, but it works. The society love it. And I think it's starting to ripple. And this is something like, I want to show this because sometimes we're thinking like as a business, we have to do like this fancy stuff like AR and VR, then we become creative we can only be creative if we're using those kind of high-tech technology. But sometimes you can just do QR codes for simple stuff, that you do like for your business. Maybe like a quick payment for certain things, you just use QR code connected to Magento, auto checkout, whatever it is. I found this image somewhere in the internet. I think Walmart tried to do that, a little bit. I don't know how success. I would really like to see the result, but this is where I see that even US tried to mimic some of the activity in Asia. So that's kind of bringing impact. And back again, that I mentioned earlier about the culture merging of this all these millennials. So I was not surprised that people actually from the US, the millennial from the US will learn all of this from the internet, just like the Asia millennial learn all the good stuff from the US. Social media, we have very similar behavior now. I think in US now we go beyond just Facebook. I think a lot of people go to Snapchat, all about story. Asia still love Facebook. They still go to Facebook and Instagram, still the biggest company. But next slide. But they also already evolved from just a regular post into the stories. So this is just to show you that, again, the millennial behavior is actually getting closer and closer the same between the US and in Asia. They no longer post something into a post, but they're now working on the stories. So a lot of my merchants like this one is Love Bonito. They really engage with all their clients in stories. We don't have Instagram shop yet in Asia, but we already selling a lot through Instagram story. We're bypassing whatever Instagram tried to provide. But just as simple as if you have a certain number of followers in Instagrams, apparently you now can add a link that people can swipe up. So it's a very simple thing that they do. They're creating a lot of this story that every day every day they have new content that they just post in the story, and it's always related to a promotion or product. They always related to something that allow people to actually engage through Instagram and buy, and connect them in that way in the e-commerce site. It works really well. It works really well. And then the next one is about the payment innovations. There's also another observation that I see. US is kind of following what's happening in Asia. In US, I mean, obviously, we've been driving a lot of our transaction very simple through credit card. I mean, everybody have credit card. It's so easy. I think most of the advanced countries do that. You don't have to worry about different kind of payments as long as you have a credit card, accept credit card. Most likely, people can shop. Very nice. But that's kind of changing a bit now. I mean, in Asia, it's kind of the other way around. Only 20% people have a bank account. And the one that have credit card is even less. So it's been traditionally a lot of doing bank transfer, all those like very inefficient way to shop, and it's just so bad. Until lately, now it's become a lot of innovation around the what we call fintech, financial technology, happening a lot in the region. Obviously, you heard of WeChat Pay in China. So things like that's kind of replicate around the regions very similarly. What we call is like, it's just a lot of payment options all of a sudden become available in Asia. And it's all app-based payment, from scanning, tapping, whatever you want. We have all. This is just Indonesia alone. I mean, you see Indonesia, Singapore, Philippines. I just showed the 3 countries in the region. It's like that many payment that available. And unfortunately, as a merchant, I cannot just pick and choose only one because it can be everything. And each of them have their own like discount or promotions that attach to those payments. So it's very chaotic, but it's also very rich in the other way. But so it's kind of interesting that I see in the US now, it's kind of becoming like that. Right? We start with just credit card. Obviously, PayPal doing a good job, adding another layer of payment. PayPal has been being used. And then you guys introduced Venmo. I don't think Venmo is being used in e-commerce much, but I think there's a potential there for the millennial. And then all of a sudden, all the devices now, Google have their own Google Pay, Samsung have their own Samsung Pay, Apple have their own Apple Pay, Apple credit card. I own that one too. And Amazon Pay. It's like everybody come up their own pay. And then there's like Afterpay, Klarna, all those like micro lending and stuff like that start to crop up. And this, I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, what we see in Asia, I think this is going to happen even more. I mean, from the technology side, because it's much more easier now. A lot of people can jump into fintech, and there's a lot of way that people can come up with the payment. And as merchant, this has become very challenging because, okay, you said you don't want to do, you want to just do credit card, but then if you want to be like really able to approach every possible customer that the customer that love Apple, they most likely want to go Apple Pay easily from their phone. So you have to kind of consider that. If your client's already using Amazon a lot, then Amazon Pay maybe becomes as important as well. So believe it or not, the way we do it in Indonesia, I mean, it's a lot of the clients, I showed this with the group, I mean, we have to deal with a lot of payments, so we have to start creating like a payment grouping in the checkout process. This is kind of have to adapt because you have to kind of have all. But it works. I'm not saying that this is the best. Maybe we can come up with something better. I mean, through the mobile optimization initiation, maybe we can come up with a better way. But we've been talking about this in Asia, that we're doing a lot of this payment grouping and to accommodate a lot of those payment options. But something to think about. And then I think this is a topic that dear to everyone, sleeping with the enemy. Unfortunately, in Asia, we cannot afford not to do this. I mean, a lot of people say, okay, I don't want to do business with Amazon. It's fine. You probably can survive still. But in Asia, this is a completely no option. If you see in this diagram, I mean, even the first 5 website e-commerce that really can generate a lot of traffic and a lot of visits and a lot of enough traction is all marketplace. That's happened in China, obviously. Alibaba is like everything. So if as a merchant, it's not even an option to not engaging with one of this or even all of them, actually. So we end up basically, so this is one of our clients, body shops in Indonesia. As you see that they, in each marketplace, they also have what they call an official store. So they actually have a branding store inside the marketplace as well. And they also have their own website, obviously. So this is becoming a very big challenge, I mean, from the business side. Obviously, how can you basically utilizing all these different channels? I think now in Magento, we're starting up creating this sales channel connecting to Amazon. We've been doing this the last 5 years. We have to connect all the marketplaces on the get-go. So we need to be able to leverage in omni-channel. I mean, how can we have a single view of the customer if they're coming from the marketplace compared to your own store? And how can we still rewarding them wherever they're coming from? So we want to create a single customer experience regardless wherever they are. And marketplace is the hardest one, right? Because they obviously they don't give us everything, so we kind of have to find a way to work. So I think I can see that in US also is becoming a topic that's not going to die down, and I think it's going to become much more important. How do you guys actually be able to work out with this Amazon or whatever the next marketplace that come up in the Western world, maybe Alibaba, I don't know, but you have to start facing this giant not as a threat, but you have to be able to find a way to work around and work with them. And then basically take benefit out of whatever that they can offer and still success. And lastly, obviously, this technology advancement creating a lot of what we call a new economy. And then this is, I think, happening a lot more in Asia than here. I mean, not saying that we are not advanced in US, but it's in Asia because we don't have all this option, good logistic, we don't have the good banking, we don't have a lot of stuff that's just not ready. So it's trigger more faster technology trial and error to make it happen. So it's like in US we have Uber and Lyft, and in Asia we have a lot. Basically, we have Grab, we have, and they become much more prominent in their role. So we can, Uber here, at least it's not competing with like DHL or FedEx or something like that. The FedEx still pretty much, FedEx, UPS still handling all the logistic. But in Asia, the big guy like FedEx and UPS, things like that, they actually has to compete directly with Uber and a lot of other smaller company that actually tech-based. So I think this is some space that you might have to look very detailed and try to leverage some of the advantage out of them to advance your businesses. I mean, we're talking about same-day shipping. We're talking about a lot of this. If we're going to rely on FedEx and UPS, it's going to be very expensive, and they might not available yet for us. But like in Indonesia, for the same-day services, they don't go to the big guy. They all go to the Gojek, because Gojek able to establish very efficient delivering within the city to do that same-day services at more achievable, I mean, a more affordable rate. So imagine in the business, if you don't do with Gojek, then you're missing out. I mean, same-day service in Indonesia actually become almost common norm. In here, we just start talking about it, and Amazon only doing it, but we have to do it in Indonesia, especially in the big city like Jakarta. Obviously, like in the supply chain section, in the micro loan financial, things like that is going to cropping up a lot. This is some of the area that continue to watch. Even on the marketing, I think this whole sharing economy, I think is going to be playing a lot of bigger picture. I mean, you're no longer like hiring an advertising agency. You maybe just hiring some unknown guy, a blogger, not a blogger. Like it's even like somebody just have a follower in the Instagram or Snapchat. You have to kind of utilizing them for the advertising purposes. So that should be happen pretty soon. So definitely it's a very exciting place to be right now. And keep, I'll encourage us, I mean, in summary, just keep an eye open. I mean, things happening very fluidly right now. I'm across region, across culture, and I think we all learning from each other very well, very much. I think that's it from my presentation. The last slide, just my LinkedIn. You can QR code me. And thank you very much.
fast.
Do you see any difference in the trends that you note between like luxury and commodity goods, either in terms of when people convert or how people pay?
You mean luxury?
High-end versus more commodity level products. Do you see a difference in terms of the trends you mentioned?
I think in Asia right now, the luxury items still not made it that way a lot in the e-commerce space that much. I think it's right now the majority of the transactions still happening on what we call a middle class, because like I said, the driver of the e-commerce is really driving from this younger audience that's really don't really reach that point yet.
Time for one more. Anyone? I'm coming.
Hi, how do you see video technology with e-commerce, merging that with the Asian customers?
Sorry.
How do you see video to e-commerce on mobile working for you?
Because of the bandwidth, I mean, the internet is actually getting better in Asia. Believe it or not, we're already in 4G in a lot of spaces. But video has been, we're still very careful. I think a lot of people using video for like in YouTube, because that's much the most, I would say in Southeast Asia, the most efficient on posting a video right now is through YouTube. So they're going to use YouTube to engage and then basically more like creating content and stuff like that, but not necessarily selling yet, not hard selling through video. I think the whole Asia is still learning about content-driven e-commerce in the first place. I think there are a lot more space for the Asian to go in that section. Now it's more like a lot of hard selling, obviously, a lot of sale, a lot of entertainment basis kind of video rather than like a really rich content like in the US.
All right. Thank you again, Muliadi.
All right. Thank you.